Barakatah Yahushai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakadash, double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of Great Stone, to the Akim Akwath, throughout the falcons of the earth, holding on in sincerity and in truth, and diligence of mind to the gospel of Lord Mashiach Yahushai. These days and times is Brother Menashe of the DC camp. Brief, short lesson for the hopeful elect. Yeah, just concerning the worries, of our people, man. It's just it's a heavy burden, that our people have to deal with concerning their existence, under the rulership of Edom. And hey, it's gonna be a rough. It's been a rough journey, and this the Most High's judgment upon our people, and people are just bugging out, losing their minds. You know, they are looking for answers, and it's a blessing, to receive mercy of the Lord, to have an answer as to why people are struggling day and night just to see some of their dreams come true. But at the end of the day, man, as a man of the Lord, as a servant of the Lord, Hamashiach Yahushai, you have to have faith that you have the courage to bear the brunt of the Most High's chastisement, all right? So people, they've gotten so used to the delusion of Babylon, and they just don't know what to do when it's being pulled away from them, all right? So this quick scripture from 2nd Ezra chapter 6, I'm going to read verse 57 to 59. It says, "And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be lords over us, and to devour us. But we, thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given into their hands." All right. So this is the lamentation of our forefather Ezra, because he knows exactly, where our people stand when it comes to the Lord, and it's baffling, to see the heathen rule over you with impunity, and then you need to have faith in the assurance that the Lord Yahweh Shemasha Bashmukakadash made to our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the prophets, all right, concerning our redemption. So it's rough, man, to see the heathen, be above us. And, it takes a lot of humble pie, it takes a lot of humility. Scripture talks about before honor comes humility. Yeah, so we have to go through this phase of humility. You need to take a lesson out of being humble before the Lord, Hamashiach Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakadash, about how to conduct our reasonings, to hold our thoughts to a standard that is righteous before the Lord, Hamashiach Yahushai. And it's going to be a challenging process. You're trying to figure out how you can cope with the oppression, and how you can also serve the Lord. Now, verse 59 says, "If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure?" So that's a concern, for a lot of our people. They just want a piece of the so-called pie of this world. But that's not exactly what the Lord has in mind for us, man. The Lord has given us the world, as as a reward for serving him. And just settling for less with the heathen is totally out of the question. It's totally out of character. And our people have to learn that, the Messiah has given this dispensational rulership to the heathen to exercise their authority over the earth. And our people don't even have no power, man. They don't have no military might to resist the enemy. You see the drama in Venezuela. You see the drama over there in South America with all the coups and all that stuff. You see the embargo, the sanctions. You see the difficult working conditions our people have to deal with working on Esau's plantation, whether it's on the farm or in the warehouses or in the slaughterhouses for all this livestock. Even driving all these trucks up and down, working on Esau's 9 to 5 as customer service, as police officers, as teachers. So we're basically living under the shadow of Esau. And until the Lord remove Esau out of the way, man, that's what we're going to have to deal with, on a regular basis. So, you have to learn how to cope with that vibration of oppression that Esau's projecting towards us. And also learning that you need to have the word of the Lord of Mashiach Yahushai to remedy that pain, that torture, that chaos, man. Because living under Esau is nothing but chaos, bug outs, man. So bugged out rulership would have to deal with. Instability is like a tradition of Esau. So for us to receive that stability, Esau has to be removed out of the way by the Lord Mashiach Yahushai. And that's what we have to prepare ourselves for, man. While the chaos is going on, you need the scriptures to keep you stable, to keep you spiritually stable. Because the Lord has always promised that He will give us the signs and wonders according to prophecy, just to keep us motivated. All right. So another precept you need to also look at is from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 2, verse 11. You say, "Had the nation changed their gods, which are yet no gods? But my people have changed their glory for that which doth not profit." So this is what happens when our people stray away from the laws of righteousness, the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Lord and Mashiach Yahushai. They basically become subservient to the customs of the heathen, and that's the reason why people have so much problem. And they've eaten of the doctrine of the heathen. They've gotten accustomed to their way of life. They've made it part and parcel of their being, their character, and now they're suffering the consequences. And then verse 12 says, "Be astonished, O ye heavens, at this, and be horribly afraid. Be ye very desolate, said the Lord." Yeah, so it's the judgment, the rulers of our people among us, have to suffer ridicule. They have to suffer chastisement. All the so-called leaders of the civil rights movement, the ones of our people that became ministers and heads of states, they had to be made fun of by Esau, man, whether through assassination, blackmail, entrapment and corruption. They became worthless in the sights of our people. And then verse 13 it says, "For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken the fountain." All right. I'll read it again. It's Jeremiah 2 and 13. "For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters." Remember that. Ooh, and that's another code word, for Yahweh. And hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns that hold no water. So it's a painful process, that we have to go through in the process of decontamination. All right, a lot of people are just caught up in Esau's system as servants, man. Working for less than nothing. And now verse 14 says, "Is Israel, is Yasharallah, a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled?" So our people are drunk. They've been drunken with the customs, with the doctrine of the heathen. Our people are just under the curses so bad that, it's by the grace of the Lord, man, that there's a remnant. The remnant, the remnant, the remnant, the remnant, the elect. The ones that the Lord are going to be spared. It's rough. It's rough. Seeing the downfall of your fellow Israelite. So you just gotta pray consistently that the confusion of this world, man, doesn't overwhelm your spirit. That you just throw your hands up and give up the truth, of this ministry. So you have to pray, consistently, diligently, fervently. All right. So another precept will be from the book of Isaiah, chapter 47 and verse 6. And what does it say? "I was wroth with my people, I have polluted my inheritance, and given them into thine hand. Thou dost show them no mercy." All right. So when the Lord allowed the heathen to rule over us, we became stricken with madness. The dysfunctional nature of our people went into overdrive. All right. And, those that had a sense, to repent, to seek mercy from the Lord, they, they still had to suffer, with the bug outs of our people. And Esau's rulership, man, became a grinding stone over our people, man. Just got steamrolled over, got crushed. All types of atrocities that we had to endure. All right, all types of allegations of improprieties that Esau had to manufacture against us, just to have the upper hand and gain the resources the Lord blessed us with. We had to witness that. All right. "Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke." So you see the elderly of our people, man, struggling and hustling, trying to be, vibrant, trying to keep up their hope so they could make it to the next day. They're working their behinds off. It's rough. Working into their 60s and 70s, all because they have to qualify for Social Security. And then you don't even know how much they're gonna get as per so-called pensions, the peanuts and all that stuff. Yeah, so it's rough. It's painful. It's rough. A lot of them just die on the job, man. They just collapse of a broken heart, of heart attack, organ failure, blindness. They just give up the ghost. So it's a bitter experience. That cup of bitterness, is what we're drinking of at this moment. And that's a lesson from the Lord, man. The polluted doctrine, has been poured upon our people. Our people are swimming in a pool of pollution, and they need to be cleansed. All right, they need to be cleansed. And that's the reason why we need the Lord Hamashak Yahushai. So, the book of Psalms, chapter 109, verses 15 and 16. What does it say? It says, "Let them be before the Lord continually, that he may cut off the memory of them from the earth." And that's who? Our enemies. Alright. Alright, the enemies of our people. What does it say? It's, "Let the extortioner catch all that he had, and let the stranger spoil his labor." So this is the Lord gonna, bring all these curses upon the heathen. As we had to deal, with the judgment of the Lord because of our unrighteousness, so shall Esau will have to, deal with that, and the Lord Hamashak Yahushai shall come as a thief in the night. He's going to be the ultimate extortioner. So hey, forget about the grapes. The whole vineyard is going. The whole vineyard of Esau is up for grabs by the Lord Hamashak Yahushai. All right. So yeah, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough for Esau when the Lord Hamashak Yahushai destroy Esau's power structure, his infrastructure, his legacy, all that stuff. Has to be totally eviscerated. Now, verse 13 says, "Let his posterity be cut off, and in the generation following, let their name be blotted out." So they're going to become irrelevant. They're going to become as nobody. They're going to become as the dust of the balance, and that's the position the elites of this world are going to be relegated to. Now, verse 14 says, "Let the iniquity of his fathers be remembered with the Lord, and let not the sin of his mother be blotted out." So the elites, man, they're going to have to see their children, catch hell too. The Lord is going to allow the offsprings, their descendants to bear the brunt, and that's just what it is. No matter how pious they might claim to be or generous in their charity, it doesn't change anything. The Lord has to bring the judgment upon them too. And then verse 15 says, "Let them be before the Lord continually," just like the Lord has always said, according to our, through the mouth of our forefather Moses, that he will have war with Amalek forever, from generation to generation. All right, that his iniquity, is always going to be in remembrance before the Lord. So Psalms 109 and 15 says, "Let them be before the Lord continually, that he may cut off the memory of them before the earth." Oh yeah, and that's how it's going to be. Verse 16 says, "Because that he remembered not to show mercy, but persecuted the poor and needy man, that he might even slay the broken in heart." Yeah, so you have to understand that we had to endure so much atrocity, as to being used as punching bags in the Colosseums of Esau's Greco-Roman Empire, man. The sieges, the arson, the looting of the temple, and all that stuff. The Lord has to make Esau, take counsel for that. Esau has to be held accountable for that stuff, for all he's done. From him coming against us during the time of the Babylonians, the Lord has to hold him accountable for that, for blasphemy, so much, man. The rap sheet of Esau is just wrapped around the whole earth. And it's only a matter of time that the Lord Amashak Yahushua will bring him to order. All right. So another precept just to move this forward. I'm just gonna wrap this up quick. Jeremiah chapter 50 and 16. It says what? Cut off the sword from Babylon, and him that handleth the sickle in the time of harvest. So that's the economy. The economy of Babylon has to be demolished. The Lord has to tear up the the fabric that binds this so-called America together. The Lord has to tear down. That's unity. That so-called spirit of unity, the spirit of cohesion. The Lord has to dismantle it. All right. The Lord has to cause that division to take place. All right. Cut off the sword from Babylon, and him that handleth the sickle in the time of harvest. So Esau's economy is going to suffer horribly when the Lord begins to pull heavy against it. All right. For fear of the oppressing sword, they shall turn every one to his people. So the so-called process of immigration is gonna, it's gonna be a reverse immigration, man. A lot of people are just gonna abandon America, man. They're gonna head back to their lands. It's just part of the occurrence of prophecy that we have to look forward to. So do you think you're gonna need ice in those days when people are buying plane tickets? They're smuggling themselves out of the country because they don't want to be a part of the collateral damage that the Lord is bringing towards America. So you're gonna see a huge level of exodus, man. When you talk about exodus, oh boy, the airports are gonna be parked. Are gonna be parked filled to the brim, people looking to get out. All right, and it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough. Yeah, just to put one more precept in there, Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 66. This was gonna come upon the heathen also. It says in Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 66, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life. So, we had to deal with this, we had to live with it. So it's going to be upon the heathen too. That's going to cause a lot of these nations to divest out of America, because of the shaking of the hand, the Lord shaking his hand upon Babylon. So that's the point of this lesson, man. So it's just the beginning process, man. This crackdown upon our people working in Babylon, this immigration crackdown is just a sign of the Lord that things are about to warm up, you know, very soon, and the chaos is going to cause a lot of people to, begin that exodus, man. Whether it's the Somalis, the so-called Lebanese, and even some of our, our own people, man, they're going to head back to wherever they came, wherever they came from. Whether it's in the islands or what you call it, Central America, South America, so-called Europeans are gonna want to head out too. They were looking for other places to, seek refuge away from all the chaos in Babylon. So Tawadaya Bashima Shah Bashim Kakadash, for preparing us for the chaos that's about to come, and just stay humble, stay focused. It's gonna be a bumpy ride, and just have faith in the Lord. Amashaki Shalom.